February 14th, 2019. Pulwama, India. A convoy of over 2,500 CRPF Jawans moved along a narrow exposed road in Kashmir. Packed into buses, not airlifted, despite clear threat intel, these soldiers were easy targets. No air cover, no armor, just routine, just negligence. And then, a blast. A lone suicide bomber, driving a car packed with explosives, slammed into the convoy. 40 Indian soldiers died on the spot, their body parts scattered across the highway. The bomber? Never officially identified. No solid forensic report. No conclusive investigation. And within just 12 days came an unverified airstrike across the LOC into Balakot, Pakistan. No proof, no bodies, no satellite images, just media frenzy. Breaking news, hashtags, and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, dressed in military gear, saluting the sky. He milked Pulwama and Balakot like a seasoned showman. From funerals to flyers, he transformed soldiers' coffins into campaign posters. And then, he won. A thumping majority in the 2019 national elections. His second term sealed not by governance, but by grief. A victory that, until February 2019, was looking uncertain. The economy was floundering. Jobs were vanishing. Public mood was shifting. But one terrifying blast in Pulwama, one airstrike in Balakot, and suddenly the narrative changed. The questions disappeared. Only the applause remained. Welcome to Whispering Peepal. Today, we step into a space that should be sacred for any sovereign nation, the military. A pillar built not for applause, but for protection. What happens when this pillar is turned into a billboard? When war becomes theater and soldiers become props? Modi frequently poses in full military gear. Not in war, but on camera. He has made a habit of visiting high-altitude bases, posing with J1s, and then releasing those pictures just in time for election seasons. But here's the problem. The Indian Army is not a costume party. It is meant to be insulated, silent, and strategically autonomous. An institution that operates in the shadows so the nation can live in the light. It is not a brand mascot for political campaigns. A military's strength doesn't lie only in weapons. It lies in discipline, secrecy, and unwavering focus on national security. It must remain free from civilian sentiment, media hype, and electoral politics. The Army is not a crowd pleaser. It is not meant to react to emotional surges on social media or cater to the bloodlust of a vengeful electorate. It must be agnostic to religion, caste, and ideology, a battlefield where only merit, training, and duty decide your place. It must be allowed to operate coldly, rationally, and ruthlessly, with one objective: strategic victory, not public validation. And for the most part, it did. Before Modi came to power in 2014, the Indian Army carried out covert operations and surgical strikes, without fanfare, without media leaks, without political parades. Here's one you probably never heard about in an election rally: Operation Ginger, 2011. In August 2011, Indian soldiers were ambushed and beheaded by Pakistani forces along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. India didn't tweet outrage. It didn't stage photo ops. Instead, it planned revenge with chilling precision. Weeks later, Indian Army commandos crossed into Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and launched Operation Ginger, a retaliatory strike so brutal that even the Pakistani media couldn't ignore the aftermath. The operation targeted 3 Pakistani Army posts. At least 13 enemy soldiers were killed. Booby traps were laid on their bodies, and a clear message was sent: touch our soldiers, and we'll make you bleed in silence. And silence was key. There were no televised triumphs, no leaders posing in army fatigues, no political capital extracted from military bloodshed. The public came to know about it years later, through a leaked report and veteran accounts. Because real military honor doesn't crave headlines. It operates in the dark and speaks only through results. Its strength and secrecy protected by leaders wise enough to stay out of the frame. But that was then. Then came Narendra Modi. With his Gujarati trader instinct, he never quite grasped the sanctity of the armed forces. He didn't see institutions. He saw opportunities. And the Indian Army, to him, was just another resource to be mined for votes, for narratives, for manufactured glory. And when governments do that, the line between war strategy and political theater begins to blur. And when that happens, the enemy watches too. They don't just see a politicized army, they see a distracted one that's performing for the cameras instead of preparing for battle. That's not national pride, that's national risk, but that's exactly what it's becoming. Take the recent Pahalgam terrorist attack. In April 2025, militants opened fire on tourists in the Pahalgam region of Kashmir, killing 26 innocent civilians. It was one of the deadliest terror attacks in recent years, horrifying, tragic, and heartbreaking. But what should have triggered a discreet, intelligence-driven military response quickly turned into a full-blown media spectacle. Instead of tight-lipped strategy, we saw boastful ministers dropping hints of revenge on live TV. News anchors went into frenzy mode, demanding airstrikes before the facts were even in. Like war was a primetime spectacle. And it's no coincidence. Almost all major news channels today are either owned by Modi's close business cronies or run by his political colleagues. They don't report the news. They amplify the narrative. The message to Pakistan wasn't encrypted. It was broadcast on primetime, giving the enemy nation enough time to prepare. And once again, the military was forced to perform, not for tactical gain, but for public catharsis. And what did the world see? As per international reports, India's state-of-the-art Rafale jets were downed by Chinese-made Pakistani aircraft during one of these operations. A multi-million-dollar embarrassment that the Indian media chose to downplay. In the end, it wasn't about justice for the 26 victims. It was about fueling a narrative, feeding a hungry vote bank. A vote bank so misled, it believes that WhatsApp statuses and patriotic reels boost army morale. That wars are won with keypads and emojis. Today, the public watches army skirmishes the way they follow IPL scores. Minute-by-minute updates, expert panels, #wars. This real-time voyeurism pressures the military to become performers rather than protectors. And if anyone dares question the outcomes, well, Modi's playbook is ready. Criticize the army? You're anti-national? Question a failed strike? You're with the enemy. Using the army as a shield against criticism is the lowest form of politics, and it compromises the integrity of both democracy and defense. But the manipulation doesn't stop at rhetoric. It bleeds into defense contracts, too. For Modi, even fighter jets feel like party contracts, like handing out Garba Pandal decoration contracts to old business friends. Strategic military deals are reduced to just another Gujarati-style favor. Take the Rafale jets, India's most advanced and expensive combat aircraft. Instead of choosing Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, a public sector giant with over 75 years of aeronautics experience, Modi's government handed the offset deal to Anil Ambani's Reliance Defense, a firm set up just 10 days before the Rafale announcement. Anil Ambani's companies were already sinking under tens of billions of rupees in debt. His business empire, from telecom to power, was crumbling. He had no prior experience in defense manufacturing, let alone the complex task of assembling next-generation fighter jets. His only qualification, a close connection to Modi. But the damage doesn't stop at shady deals and defense contracts. Now, it's structural. Enter the Agniveer scheme, the most drastic reform in India's military recruitment policy in decades. 4 years of service, no pension, no long-term commitment, just a brief stint, like an internship in patriotism. And after that, 75% of them are shown the door. No job guarantees, no assured future. Just a certificate, a thank you, and a line in the resume. The justification? Cost-cutting. The government wants to save on salaries and pensions, trying to run the world's fourth-largest army like a startup. But at what cost? Ask any general. Soldiers don't fight with weapons. They fight with loyalty, with commitment, with the unshakable belief that this uniform is their lifelong identity. But now, a new breed of Jawans is emerging, trained not to serve the nation, but to serve a short-term career plan. Their minds are on the next job, not the next war. When the bullets start flying, will a 4-year contractual cadet sacrifice everything? Or will he weigh his options? Agniveer might save a few crores today, but it will cost us victories tomorrow. Because you can't build a formidable army on short-term contracts and long-term neglect. You've been watching Whispering Peepal, where we dive deep into the truths no one else will whisper. If this made you think, if it made you angry, or if it made you question what you've been told, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because silence is no longer an option.